All right, how many times can Donald Trump get slapped in the face by Vladimir Putin before he realizes he's being taken advantage of? We have some reports that Trump was expecting a ceasefire deal, a clean negotiation to happen with Putin, but Putin continues to stall the process and is even playing power games with Donald Trump. And the funniest part is, Putin is hitting Trump with his own power games. It's not really funny because I'm not on the side of Putin. I just wish that Trump would be more responsible within his negotiations and understand that, number one, Putin's a smart dude. Putin's a bad faith actor. Putin will take advantage of him, and Putin will lie to his face, lie to his special envoy's face to get what he wants. But we had this article from last night. Trump says there is a very good chance of Ukraine ceasefire while Russia keeps caveats. And then today we learned that the U.S. envoy Witkoff left Moscow early this morning without any ceasefire agreement. They reached zero agreement after Putin rejected Trump's terms and said, quote, "A lot needs to be done." Remember, Trump's core campaign promise was that he would have a ceasefire within 24 hours of being elected or even of taking office. Neither of those happened. He never was able to get a ceasefire because Putin's not a good faith actor. In fact, when Trump stopped sharing U.S. intelligence with Ukraine, Putin took that as an opportunity. Off of the back of that, he ended up going deeper into Ukraine, killing hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians, and Trump allowed him to do that. Now, I did say there were power games being played by Putin, and this is what I was talking about. Quote, "Trump's fixer was made to wait 8 hours to meet Putin. It felt like a classic power play. Donald Trump got trumped. Trump's special envoy, often called his, quote, fixer, was made to wait 8 hours to meet the Russian president and left Moscow a few hours later as soon as the talks ended with nothing, empty-handed." And we've heard so many reports of Trump pulling these exact power plays. It's like he took some seminar in the 80s on how to be a good businessman, and Trump always... Whenever he shakes someone's hand, he yanks it really hard, number one. He often makes people wait. He's full of these cheap tricks and power plays, and it seems like Putin kind of reversed the cards. But the main blow here, not only to Trump, but also to Ukraine, is that there was no ceasefire reached. But honestly, this sounds bad, but I'll rationalize it. I'm almost happy that there was no ceasefire reached, because now, hopefully, Trump will see that Putin is a bad faith actor, that Putin is the one stalling the process, and that Ukraine is actually being invaded. Ukraine is the victim because Zelensky has approached in good faith multiple times. So maybe it's good that a ceasefire was not reached on Putin's terms, because there is a reality where Trump just accepted the first ceasefire that Putin was down to do. That would not have been good. So Steve Witkoff, our envoy to Russia, didn't stay long in the Russian capital. According to footage posted of his motorcade leaving and returning to Moscow's airport, he was there for a little more than 12 hours. And for most of that, he was waiting. This dude stayed in Russia for 12 hours, made the entire trip, stayed there for 12 hours. For 8 of those hours, he was just waiting for the conversation. Mr. Witkoff, who's a former property mogul that has now become Donald Trump's chief negotiator, God, it's such an infantile view of the world. Trump thinks that he can just pluck people from TV, pluck real estate agents, like, hey, you know how to negotiate. You'd be great in a key government position where you need decades of foreign policy experience. Witkoff had been dispatched to Moscow to deliver the U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire to Vladimir Putin. He had been scheduled near the start of the week following U.S.-Ukraine talks in Saudi Arabia, but after arriving around lunchtime on Thursday, he was left twiddling his thumbs for at least 8 hours before being called into the Kremlin. And Steve Witkoff is somebody who in the past is known to have a temper. When he walked in to Netanyahu's office, he was very, very firm, and apparently it was intense. So this dude does not like to be whipped around, and Mr. Putin was apparently too busy meeting someone else, Belarusian leader Lukashenko, for a hastily arranged state visit that had been announced the day before. And now the question is, was that visit a classic Putin power play? And it says, yes, it really does seem like that. The Kremlin leader doesn't like to be backed into a corner and told what to do, especially on his own turf. So it felt like a message to Americans, quote, "I'm the boss, I set the schedule, and I'm not beholden to anyone." He did eventually grant Mr. Witkoff that all-important FaceTime once night has fallen, and nothing came of it. Trump is currently being whipped around and taken advantage of, and it's because Trump has this narcissistic obsession with power. Trump has this unique form of narcissism where he's attracted to powerful people in positions of power, and he views weak people as beneath him. So when Zelensky came and was asking for stuff, he viewed Zelensky as a weak person, and he thought that he could be dismissive. He could degrade Zelensky to his face, so that's what he did. But when Donald Trump is talking about Xi Jinping or Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin, he views them as powerful people that he looks up to. So that's why he allows Putin to kind of just whip him around. Also, he's dumb. He's literally just an idiot. The 47th president is remaining optimistic. Quote, "We had a very good and productive discussion with Vladimir Putin." Of course, that's what Trump would say. "And there is a very good chance that this horrible, bloody war can finally come to an end." No, there's not, because you're not offering the necessary security guarantees. You know, for somebody that tries to talk a lot about U.S. strength, Trump spends a lot of time trying to project strength. Even when he has none to project, he's all of a sudden incredibly weak when it comes to this specific war. The U.S. has so much leverage that we could give Ukraine in the form of money, in the form of weapons, in the form of just support with alliances, yet Donald Trump is ceding all of this ground, all of this power to Vladimir Putin for no reason whatsoever. It's just because he's narcissistic and he looks up to Putin for some odd reason. Trump's proposal was straightforward. Russia and Ukraine would halt all conflict for 30 days and conduct a prisoner exchange as a sign of both parties' commitments to finding a peaceful resolution. Ukraine accepted, Russia denied. Russia can't even take 30 days off the war as a sign of goodwill because they have to be advancing. They have to be taking advantage of this opening that Trump left them. And that's the fatal flaw in Trump's strategy. He is leaving an opening for Putin. He's legitimizing Putin's strategy even further because Putin's main gamble is that if he goes into Ukraine and takes a little bit of land, that the West will tire itself out. The West will eventually withdraw and be like, hey, we don't really care. And his gamble is paying off. He is now gaining more ground as Trump plays around in hopes that Putin comes to the table for a ceasefire, when in reality, Zelensky is the only one that has shown any goodwill. Putin literally said, hey, I'm sorry, I can't even take a 30-day ceasefire from the war. This is the war that we're waging. We kind of have territory to take over. And Trump is still too dumb to understand that Vladimir Putin is the one unilaterally waging this war. And I'll wrap it up there, but the main takeaways here are that Putin has expressed concerns that a temporary truce would bide Kyiv's forces the time to supply weapons. And he questions how a ceasefire would be enforced. Essentially, Putin is not engaging in good faith. Putin just wants more territory. If you enjoyed this video, if you appreciate what I do, all that I ask is that you drop a like, subscribe. I love each and every single one of you. You guys have helped build this beautiful community over the past year, and it will continue to grow over the next 5, 10 years as we rebuild the Democratic Party, as we push MAGA Trumpism away and move away from that straight up politics. So again, thank you to every single one of you. I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on below. Become a member below, and peace out.